Welcome into KARE 11 Plus. We're doing your 15-minute weather edition here. Thank you all for joining me here. I took a needed week off. Really, all I did was slept. I was up in Canada. I also went fishing, but it was needed, just to sleep. Now we are looking at rain. Obviously, we had those dying storms from last night. Now we're in a pretty active period. So over the next 4 days, including today, including Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we're looking at, I would call this an active period. Now the two really active days are clearly Tuesday and Wednesday. That doesn't mean it won't rain today, because obviously it already has, but we're not looking at widespread severe weather. Tuesday we'll talk about the threats that's going to bring. Wednesday we're also going to be talking about some of the threats that are going to be coming in on Wednesday. Now today with this early rain, it does one thing. If you hate the heat, it allows you to have cool weather. So we're actually going to have somewhat cool weather here as we go throughout the afternoon. We should still hit 80. All we need was a couple hours of sunshine. But again, the southeast winds are still going to be there. Typically, southeast winds lead to storms. Again, southeast winds crank the moisture. So we are going to talk about elevated humidity coming up on Tuesday and Wednesday. So what happened here is we had that morning round of rain, and then we're going to see these isolated thunderstorms through noon and 1 o'clock. Now you can see here at 2 o'clock, we're still dealing with isolated storms. Now the best chance for storms, I'll walk off screen here, throughout the day, models are indicating that it's going to stay here. So if you're going to be in Alexandria, this section over here, Ortonville, Wilmer, I actually think what will happen on the second half of the day is you're going to start breaking in some sunshine. So in my beautiful hatched region, that's where we're going to have that sunshine to get you well into the 80s. Now, we're not talking about a bunch of storms out here. In fact, you guys had storms this morning, but you will take a much-needed break. Now, in this circled area, the models don't do a great job at this time of the year. They never do. But there was that storm system from this morning. There's leftover boundaries that it leaves, and storms can fire on that. I don't think it's going to be widespread. I wouldn't necessarily change my plans in the afternoon, but I'd be prepared for it. So as we continue on, you can see at 3 o'clock these continue to move into Wisconsin. But yeah, that area in that horribly hatched region, that's where it's going to be able to warm up. I still think the metro can warm up, and I still have us at 80 degrees. But I do think Brainerd, Crosby area, again, getting up to Cross Lake, we're going to be in the 60s or low 70s today just from the added thick cloud cover. Now, you guys didn't have a bunch of rain this morning, but you did have that consistency with your rain. So this is mainly morning rain here and early afternoon rain. The reason Moorhead and Ortonville are sunny and 79 and 83 is because yes, it rained this morning, but we're expecting enough dry time to pop your temperatures and to get that sunshine. So let's talk about what's going on here in the dew point. What was the dew point today? 60. That's on the humid level. But if I'm being honest with you, in July, I don't know why I said it like that, in July, the dog days of summer, let's call it that, in the dog days of summer, 60 is not humid. Any other time of the year, yes. At this time of the year, no. Tuesday and Wednesday, you can complain. Yeah, you can definitely complain because we're going to be looking at dew points in the 70s. Now, why do I have increased chances for severe weather on Tuesday and Wednesday? Well, it's mainly this. Moisture drives thunderstorms. There are other factors like the low-level jet stream, which comes in on Tuesday and Wednesday. So those two things could fire off a bunch of storms. I think we'll drop to the low 60s, maybe the upper 50s by Friday. Very dry for this time of the year, and that lowers chance for rain. Nothing is ever out of the question. Like Friday and Saturday, I can't say it won't rain, but the odds for rain will be lower. And actually, I'll just show you this map to counteract that. We'll go into the detailed forecast in a second, but I'll show you this one now. Just to show you the moisture and how it correlates perfectly with rain chances, you can see it on the precip chance. So look at this Tuesday and Wednesday. I wouldn't necessarily change my plans. I would prepare for rain. What timing? Mainly in the PM and evening hours. I think the better chance for rain is actually Wednesday night through very early on the day on Thursday. Now Thursday night, we get behind the front. So Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday mainly dry. Sunday mainly dry, but then Sunday night we got another chance for storms. All in all, the chances in July are always different than other times of the years. So you know what you get in October when it's going to rain? You get literally 0% and then 100% and then back to 0. It's pretty easy, right? It's different. Now at this time of the year, I do it as percentages. Never, ever, even a high percentage, I would be like, yeah, it'll probably rain. But I take the high percentage with a grain of salt. I take the low percentages with a grain of salt. It could always rain in the summertime. But what you like to do is with the high percentages, you just say, all right, 70% chance. Even if it's 50%, there's probably storms there that day. So Wednesday night. If I had plans Wednesday night, I'd say, it's probably going to storm at some point. But it also probably won't be a washout. It's kind of this in-between in July that makes it very difficult. And it is a hard time to forecast, just being straight honest. So again, as we go through the day, today we should be mainly dry, but then we'll start talking about things ramping back up. So let's talk about the weather impact alert. We might add Wednesday onto this. Right now we're going to focus on Tuesday, and it looks like the second half of the evening Tuesday, the second half of the day Tuesday looks pretty active. And what I really see and what I like with the storm chance is there's a very strong low-level jet in the evening, accompanied by massive amounts of CAPE, which is how we measure instability. So the impacts on Tuesday evening, anytime afternoon, be ready for rain. They're going to be strong winds and heavy rain. Once you get to the dog days of summer, it's typical to have large hail and damaging winds. That's pretty much the summertime storms. Tornadoes are typically less common, but are still possible on the apex of the bow. What is the apex of the bow? Well, the bow of the storm, where it bows out like a bow and arrow, right on the tip, is where you can get a tornado. So it's not out of the question. But you got to be prepared for the damaging winds and a lot of rain. And we'll talk about who has the best chance for rain. So let's look at Tuesday. We'll talk about this boundary and what I am expecting here. So if we can get our temperature way up there, the key with a day like Tuesday, I'll draw on here a little bit. So you've got, actually, there's a boundary. It looks like it's more here. Cold front more here. If I show you what's the low-level jet, it's cranking like this. So, well, that's not the greatest jet. But you see these little things I put on here? So, where's the heaviest rain going to be? You would think down where it's more unstable. The answer is no. It's not where the severe weather is. The heavy rain threat is going to be on the boundary. The boundary where it's less severe actually creates more rain. Bemidji, Grand Rapids, Brainerd, Duluth, you got to be ready for multiple inches of rain Tuesday through Wednesday, through the entire day Wednesday. Now, what I think will happen is you're going to get some storms to develop and strengthen. They're going to come and ride down this ridge, and they're going to roll down St. Cloud and the Twin Cities. There could be two waves on Tuesday. It's possible to have two waves of storms. It looks like the better chance will come Tuesday late evening, but there's not. There's a chance for one actually late morning, early afternoon, kind of like today. So both are going to be possible. Now, when you have this setup, now this is good and bad. The good news is AI can't figure out weather because there's no patterns. It's chaos. The bad news is, well, that there's chaos, right? So it's good because I don't want AI to take my job. So that's my job, is to let you know when you have this setup, it's a good setup for storms. Even at 3 a.m. in July, it's nasty out and it could storm. So because of that, we could have storms at any time in this setup. So I want you to be prepared. At any moment Tuesday, we could have a thunderstorm. It is not out of the question, even in the morning. But what I know is percentages. Go back to percentages. If the morning is 20 and the afternoon's 40 and the evening is 80, where's the better chance where it's going to rain? Evening. So it doesn't mean it won't rain in the morning, but you focus your attention in the evening. That's just what we know right now. So again, I can't go with guaranteed zero. There is no yes, it will rain, no, it won't rain. That's just not how it works in this time of the year. Let's talk about threats. Then we will look at, I got to change the none to low and the wind to elevated, but is what it is. I guess you want me to do it right now? No, you don't need me to do it. I could change it. So the wind is going to be the elevated threat. Now let's talk about how that slight risk works. So the slight risk that I just went to, this map right here, went backwards, this map, do you know why? Do you even know what a slight risk means? Well, it has to reach a criteria level for either wind, hail, or tornado. Not all three, just has to reach it for one. So that's why we go to this graphic to dissect why we have a slight risk. So if we just had these low threats for hail and tornado, what would the threat level be? I give you enough time to answer. Marginal. So you'd have a marginal threat if it was just hail, and the threats were here without the wind threat, it would be a marginal risk. So we're focused on the wind threat. Obviously, elevated threats for wind get you the slight risk, and that's how that works. So again, we'll continue to watch it, kind of like this morning, very similar tomorrow. So let's take a look at this. Now, this is the European model. It's the best we've got. I will tell you that I have not seen in the past 2 weeks one model get it right. Not one. So that's why it's good for me to come on here and just kind of talk to you about how this nightmare of a forecast works at this time of the year. Because you could theoretically, you at home, you could go to anywhere and find what you want to hear, right? You could live in a vacuum on this. You'd be like, I want to hear that it's going to rain Tuesday morning. You could probably find some meteorologist that'll post some model that shows it pouring Tuesday morning. I could pick any model to manipulate my forecast, but instead of doing that, I try to just be transparent and let you know the chaos and disaster of this so you can be actually prepared instead of being kind of angry. And maybe you're angry with not knowing the forecast, but this is the Europeans' model of what we think will happen, and I'll tell you what this tells me here in a second. So what do I actually take from this? So we're going to go through the day on Tuesday. So in the morning, this says it's not raining. Now, again, I can show you a model that shows it pouring on Tuesday, okay? I can show you one. I could show you a storm that blows storms through here Tuesday morning. Is that possible? Yes, but it's a 20% chance. So we're going to focus on the high probabilities, the high chances for rain, which this, I think, shows you. So during the morning, your chances are low. They're not zero, they're low. By the time we get to the middle of the day, now you see your first real threat for rain. To me, early convection makes sense on Tuesday. And the reason I think that was because that little drawing I did, that work of art, that actually shows me, I sometimes like to over-talk about it so I can believe in my forecast. That shows me that the storm should develop fast. Tuesday is extremely unstable. Tuesday is the perfect setup to just drive up storms. We probably should get early convection. Early convection is noon, 1, 2. You can't get early convection in May. It's harder to do because you need to warm up all day to get it unstable. In July, we're already unstable. Literally just being in July with a 72-degree dew point, you're good at any point of the day. So early convection's likely. Now, as we go, I also want you to see that the models will develop it near the boundary. Let me see if I can draw on here one more time. Lord knows I love to draw on these things. So if it develops on the boundary up here, and then it starts to move away from the boundary, okay, the better chances for severe weather will be closer to that boundary. The further away you get from the boundary, you are actually going to be stabilizing. So, and here's the actual scientific methodology on this one. Let me see, this jet stream's bothering me. I don't know, whatever. The jet's going to be ugly. So the reason how this works is this is going to be Tuesday during the day. You got the low-level jet starting to pick up. Now, the storms like to develop on the end of the low-level jet, not in the low-level jet. The low-level jet actually goes strong at 50 miles per hour, and then it stops. And then the low-level jet is not here. Now, I don't have to go super nerdy, but the storms develop actually on the outflow out of this jet where it's weakened. So it's strong, weakens. Where it stops, that's the storms. So as this storm system rolls deeper into the jet, it's actually getting less moisture flux into it, and it should be stabilizing. So that's the theory. That's how this all works. Storm develops, working off what we call moisture flux or moisture inflow from this jet. Imagine this like gasoline, okay? I got like this gasoline thing, and it's throwing gasoline into this, and storms are going. Well, then you start you get into the pump part of the gasoline, right? There's no gasoline. It's all out of the thing. So then all of a sudden you're in the handle of the gasoline pump, and it starts to weaken because the gasoline spews outward. Does that make sense? So that is why that storm will weaken in southern Minnesota. Now, as we continue on, this really doesn't change. Notice Tuesday night and Wednesday, same deal. What happens? They weaken in southern Minnesota because it's going into the area of the jet stream that we've decided to call the handle of the actual gasoline pump. Now, here's the storm threats. It is possible to get this, but I will tell you the highest amounts will stay in northern Minnesota. Notice southern Minnesota, some of these have 0. So while it's possible we can get one to roll through and we could all see 2 inches, it's a higher likelihood where we're at the area that's throwing out that gasoline, which is in northern Minnesota, to actually get that type of storm system. So I just want you guys to understand that. Again, that's kind of what we're looking at over the next couple days. Boy, that's a heavy, heavy nerd out session. I hope you guys enjoyed that. As we go into the next 7 days, I'm always like, ooh, said too much. 88 to 90, very hot, very humid. Be prepared for storms. It looks great, though, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.